Alright guys, we're back for yet another Bleach Brave Souls video, and it's time to cover Limit Breaker Quest. Now, we did get the news about the quest a day before the end of the month banner got revealed, and I just chose to wait and see how Slot 1's character was going to be, if it was even worth talking about, because if you guys remember that one character, she was made for Limit Breaker Quest, but the kit was pretty dog water on release, so she was kind of a nerfed character. Was she still good for Limit Breaker Quest? Yeah, just nothing too crazy to the point that if you had 1000-year blower icing, you could use her. And now here, we have July's Limit Breaker Quest. And I have to be 100% honest to you guys. This is by far the most unfair BS type of Limit Breaker quest that they have released thus far. So Slot 1 has you facing up against speed or Ronker mobs, and they reintroduced the attribute only rule. Lovely. You can only use technique characters, and they need to have killer effect and melee damage. And the killer effect is what's really needed here, where it's ×8, and then you have a ×2 melee damage multiplier. And we don't have a lot of Ronker killers for technique, but if you guys weren't aware, Slot 1's best character is going to be the new Swimsuit Bambietta, which I'm going to cover in a bit. Slot 2, on the other hand, a bit more of an acceptable one, even though they still put the power attribute damage ×2 rule, but guess what? This Slot 2 rule, you can actually take advantage of Mugetsu, which you can actually get by doing 10 steps. It doesn't matter if you get lucky. It doesn't matter if you get shafted. If you go to step 10 on that banner, you get the selector ticket, you're guaranteed to get Mugetsu. You can choose between Mugetsu and now Shumsui. Just get him. Pretty easy. But besides that, yeah, the rules are power attribute damage ×2, melee damage ×2, killer effect ×5, and you're up against technique hollows. Slot 3, the enemy mobs are gonna be speed Quincy's, and you have the range damage ×2 rule, and the status element puddles. Slot 1 is freeze, Slot 2 is poison, Slot 3 is burn. And Slot 3, in my opinion, I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that kind of rule alone, because what do we have for that warrants you to use range characters with Quincy killer? Like, let's just take a good close look. Very, very funny, Caleb. You guys are such a bunch of clowns. You expect us to use these characters? You expect us to use a Nat character without attack boost? Are you serious right now? And you expect to use a character with a terrible kit, no havoc, and has like low damage multipliers? Yeah, what's the best appropriate way I can say this? Miss me with a bullshit. And Slot 3's best characters will pretty much be between 3 characters: Macy, Quincy Ichigo, and Valentine's Day Riruka, which I'm going to cover in a bit. Let's just go over the best characters for each and every individual slot, and then talk about what alternatives you can use over the characters. Slot 1's best character is going to be the Tech Swimsuit Bambietta, like I've mentioned before, and she's going to be the more than ideal unit to use for Slot 1 of Limit Breaker Quest, as she fits all the rules. Is gonna be a really good character overall, because she also gives out a killer effect boost to all of your party members, and once again, she's gonna be really good. She pretty much plays exactly like Ichibe, has the same kit as him, just no gauge, and you already have flat damage across the bat with Frenzy +2, 80% SP boost, Berserker 40. You also have increased status element chance against Ronkers, and once you kill 25 enemies, you get an additional killer effect for herself and her entire team, plus has the killer effect of 30%, so she's going to be quite dominant in this upcoming Slot 1 Limit Breaker Quest for when facing off against Ronkers, and she also has a bit of melee damage here and there. Long stride as well, so she's already going to be a very speedy character. You don't even need to give her as a bonus ability. Just slap on, if at 1-5, full stam and focus, if at 2-5, full stam and SP. But you guys get the point. Is also going to be immune to the Limit Breaker quest rule, with Havoc, Spurn +1. So yeah, she's going to be the more ideal unit to use. She has the Suction Vortex on the SA1, a 3k length beam on the second, and the SA3 is going to be full screen. She shouldn't have too many problems with clearing the quest, besides wanting to be careful with how you activate your strong attack, since you kind of do need to line up the SA2 of hers. But she's going to be great. There's not going to be that many issues for slot 1. And if you guys were to pull her, and you guys were to ask me, oh, should I use Thousand Year Blower Aizen? Should I use Unit A, Unit B? Just use the character, man, for slot 1. I get some comments like that, and I think y'all need to actually think before asking, because this is the character intended for slot 1, and she's gonna have all the rules active, and she's gonna perform a lot better. Slot 2 is gonna have you use the 9th anniversary renewed version of Mugetsu form Ichigo, and this guy is also gonna be the intended character to use for slot 2, and like I stated before, if you go to step 10, you can pretty much get this character guaranteed, and you should be just fine, ready to go for limit break request. And this character is by far the most cracked power character that we have in the game. Already talked about him, and he's gonna be the best to use when you have hollow enemies, and you pretty much have to use melee characters. But besides that, he already gives out an extra 20% strong attack damage buff to himself and the entire party. And he's also the speedy character, just like Bambi, albeit a lot faster because of Sprinter +3 long stride. So easy, full stam, and focus if he's 1-5, and if he's 2-5, FSD and SP. With high damage output, 50% Berserker, the team party buff, like I stated earlier, increased ailment chance against hollows. He's also a nuking unit, so you might want to nuke with this character directly, because he has bombardment with 40% more damage to weaken enemies, weaken defense, marauder, can hit underground enemies, and has 100% SP boost. So he's just going to be the harder hitting character to use, and you want to use this character for slot 2 directly. There's no other better character to use besides him. Slot 3's best units are pretty much going to be 3 different characters at the end of the day that you want to take advantage of, and you want to mainly take advantage of the range characters. So the first one that we're going to talk about has to pretty much be Valentine's Day Riruka. Now, she does have the team party buff like Mugetsu. However, if you're using both Riruka and Mugetsu, it will not stack, and it'll be like it's going to be completely pointless. But at the end of the day, once you kill 25 enemies, you get an extra 20% more full stamina damage boost, 20% Berserker. Also already speedy at that too, with a long stride built in with Spurn +1. Can recover stamina, has drain on the entire kit with the map-wide AoE skill. And her damage multipliers are still really good because, yeah, already base 40% Berserker, full stam 30, from the Soul trait Frenzy +2, weaken defense and long stride, guard break, 80% SP boost. If you do not have Mugetsu, this character is going to be a solid nuker to use once you get her duped out, and it should be just okay to use overall. So easily one of the better units to use in limit break request, and she's just going to be an absolutely speedy character with a beam, vortex into pushback, and then a full screen SA3. The next character, Quincy Ichigo. Funny enough, Quincy Ichigo, the character himself, will pretty much already have the likes of being able to inflict status ailments non-stop because you're up against speed mobs, and you also get your cooldowns back when moving in between the quest areas. And his damage output is still quite solid with Frenzy +2, 40% Berserker. Gets his cooldowns back when moving in between the quest areas. And matter of fact, you guys might want to use this character in slot 3 if you have Bambietta and you are using her for slot 1. He's going to be the more ideal unit to use for slot 3. Oh yeah, also has a full stamina damage boost of 20% via the innate ability, and an extra 20% more character strong attack damage to 20. Yeah, it's better to use Quincy Ichigo overall for slot 3 if you're using Bambi. You're already giving him and Bambi extra cooldown reductions and an extra 20% strong attack damage buff that Bambi doesn't have, although you're already doing that with Mugetsu, so I guess you're only bringing Quincy Ichigo for the cooldown reduction for himself and Bambi, but you guys get the point. Still speedy. The only sucky thing about him is that he has the 18% shave, and you have the 3k length beam and a full screen SA3, so yeah. Other than that, yeah. He still is going to be a really solid character. And then the last of the best characters for slot 3 is going to be Macy. Macy is just too cracked not to use if you have more dupes invested into her. However, she's not going to be that fast compared to Riruka and Quincy Ichigo. Albeit, Quincy Ichigo, you do need to give him long stride, no doubt about that. And Macy, on the other hand, she's just going to be a bit of a slower character because of the fact that she only has like what, 2 flash tips? Bro, where is she? I'm trying to look for her as I'm talking about. There we go. There she is. But she's just more cracked to use as a character. She will actually have a very easy time flying through against the enemies with poise because you have the 80% SP boost, but once you inflict the status summons against them, you do 40% more damage to weakened and paralyzed enemies, and you also have a pretty solid soul bomb with weakened defense, and this right here. And she too can get her cooldowns back when moving in between the quest areas. The only difference is that because you're using her, that is a speed character, you're not giving Bambi the extra cooldown reductions when moving in between the quest areas. But other than that, she's easily among the 3 best characters to use for slot 3. At the end of the day, you just want to use a range character. It doesn't matter of the type of attribute and killer you have, just as long as it's not a power character. So, yeah. Unfortunately, for slot 3, you cannot use Parasol Rukia because, for starters, she's a power character. She's going to be losing a lot of damage when faced up against these speed mobs, having typing disadvantage. And on top of it all, guess what? Not all of her strong attacks are even ranged. She still has that garbage SA2, which is still classified as a melee character, and every single new character that comes out, every single heal and boost has been turned into a ranged attack if it's goddamn ranged. Yeah, this character, only one thing I can say about her. So yeah, if you're thinking about using Parasol Rukia to buff Mugetsu and get all of the cooldowns back, no, don't, not worth it. And now it's time to go ahead and start going over every single alternative that you can use. Now for slot 1, it's bullshit. It's bullshit because you need to take advantage of mainly Aronker killers. If you do not have an Aronker killer, you're screwed over because that's the only rule in which you have the ×8 damage multiplier. And the only character that shares both rules compared to Bambi is this Cacao Society Grimmjow. And he's not even gonna be the best alternative to use because while the kid is solid, he has like a 3k length beam, suction vortex, and a charge SA3, which is in front. His DPS output is very low because he only has Frenzy +2. That's it. That's all he has. No Berserker. He only does more damage when inflicting ailments against enemies. He has this, which is by 20%, and then 20% more damage to weaken enemies. But guess what? You don't even have the increased ailment chance to take advantage of that. So Grimmjow's just gonna suck even more. Now, if he's max transcended, I don't think he's gonna have too many problems. I'm gonna give him a shot because I do have him maxed out at 500 SP with FSD and Longstride, so I think he might be okay, but he's just not gonna be as crazy good compared to Rengoku and Aizen. Matter of fact, I definitely want to say that the best alternatives to use are pretty much gonna be these 2 characters right here. Now, we'll have to wait and see for when the Limit Breaker quest drops, but these are the 2 alternatives that I recommend you guys use the most if you do not have Cacao Society Grim. And even if you have him, they'll probably be better than him. But going over Rengoku real quick, she's the character that was made for Limit Breaker Quest a couple months ago, and the skill set is good, but the kit was really dog water because they gave her the 18% shave, vortex into pushback attack, full screen SA3, and they just kind of fumbled with the kit when they could have either given her a beam on the SA1, or if they want to keep, I don't know, the 18% shave and give her the 916 to homing vortex, and the character would have actually aged well. I would actually call her one of the best tech characters, but that's not the case. But that being said, this skill set is still amazing. She has 40% more strong attack damage when at full stam with laceration on the entire kit. You guys know how broken that is. Defeated enemy bonus, you get up to 60% full stamina damage boost once you have killed 40 enemies. You also have some stamina recovery for the entire party, and okay, you're not taking advantage of the puddles because the puddles are freeze, so you can get frozen with Rengoku, so be careful about that. And then you also have Frenzy +2 with an extra 40% more damage to status summon affected enemies for Tech Soul Reapers. And you also are already speedy at that too with Long Stride, also having Guard Break plus hidden enemies and SP boost, weaken defense as well. Like, the skill set is solid, the kit isn't too crazy, but you can use her as an alternative over Bambietta if you cannot actually pull her. So, there's that, if you guys have the unit. And then, The other alternative, Thousand Year Blow Aizen. Now, this character is going to be slow because he's mainly a NAD character and you want to mainly attack with your normal attack strength. But the DPS that he has, in my opinion, is still by far the most consistent compared to Rengiku's. You don't have to worry about cooldowns. All you have to do is boost, get the attack boost, and just NAD. Literally just NAD. And that's kind of the reason why he's slow, because you're mainly depending on the NAD string to kill off all the enemy mobs. But against the bosses, oh yeah, he's just gonna cleave through like as if it's nothing. And he's still one of the best NAD characters in the game too. By having Flurry +1 with 60% bruiser overall. Also has the gauge effect. Once you activate it, you get more cooldowns, so that's gonna help out with the second strong attack of his. 100% extra bruiser. You also need to be careful when it comes to using this character right here because he is not immune to freeze. But more importantly, he also has barriers with multi-barrier, guard break, and the 80% attack buff. So yeah, Aizen is going to be a very cracked character to use. You do need to give him long stride for him to be speedy, but he's going to be one of the better alternatives to use, as he's going to be by far the most consistent character to use as an alternative. He's not the fastest, he's just very consistent with getting all of his damage out. So that's pretty much it. I do not recommend using any character that isn't an Aranker killer. Let me just say that right now, and those are your only two good alternatives. We have yet to see how Grimmjow will do. I'm not expecting the craziest of things from him just because of how low his damage output is. You cannot use any of the other characters. They all pretty much are mediocre, suck. Stark still needs his resurrection, and who knows when Canferno gets it, so I found it's not working. And if you really want to use, I don't know, off-killer characters, guess who is your only good character to use? Just Ichibe. Just Ichibe. Literally. It's just him. Slot 1 is bullshit. Now, Slot 2, if you do not have the likes of Mugetsu, here is what you guys can actually use. The Power 1000 Year Blower Yama should actually be quite solid to use. Not the craziest, because you need to proc status summons. When you don't proc status summons, he is just a wet noodle at this point. He did age out a lot, but he does have the God Kit with the 3k length beam, 916 homing vortex, full screen. He just doesn't have the increased element chance. If he had that, goddamn, this character would have aged so much better in the long run, because he only has Frenzy +1 with 40% more Berserker, 40% more damage to weaken and burning enemies, with a really amazing Soul Bomb bombardment plus weaken defense. Keep in mind, Mugetsu, funny enough, will have almost the same Soul Bomb as Yama. Only difference is that he doesn't have a second status element and doesn't have this, but you guys get the point. And then 80% SP boost. So if you do not have Mugetsu and you, for whatever reason, choose to skip him, this character can be used. Albeit, if he's max transcended, I would more than likely recommend using him. But if you have Mugetsu, dude, Mugetsu even at 1.5 or 2.5, he's just going to perform better than a max transcending Yamamoto. It's just not even funny. The sheer difference between the two characters, which are 2 years apart, is just that big. It's really that big. So there's that. And you also need to give Yama long stride too, so there's that. Besides that, that's the only good alternative that shares all the rules. 5th anniversary Ichigo should be getting his resurrection, but it's not gonna be until the end of part 1 of the anniversary when the banner's gonna leave. That's more than likely when he's gonna pick it up. And even then, by the time he gets it, Limit Breaker Quest is gonna be gone, so don't go waiting for him. Honestly speaking, I would not wait for 5th Anni Ichigo to get his resurrection if you're trying to do that kind of take. But besides that, we don't have any other power holo killer that we can use that is ranged. So, yeah, I mean, 8th Anni Ichigo will be okay, but his damage output is still kind of lacking. Like, the SA1 doesn't help much. The SA2 is good, and he can stun lock the enemies with poise. And, yeah, but that's just about it. He only has Frenzy +3 with 20% full stamina damage boost, and you need to put the Masaki link on him. If you do not have Masaki, consider this character to be quite mediocre for Limit Breaker Quest, since he wasn't made for this type of rotation in particular, and that's just pretty much about it. But since this time around, Slot 2, you're not relegated to using power characters only, we can actually go outside of the attribute and filter for every single attribute but speed, because if you use speed, you're gonna have typing disadvantage, and you're not gonna have a good time going through the slot 2 stages. Anyway, let me filter for melee characters specifically, and the doors open up a bit more. You have Yuha right here, which is still gonna be a really solid character. I already talked about this character so many times on so many different. He's still one of the best characters out there that doesn't have Rampage, but with the amount of tool sets that he provides, he's still one of the best characters in the game. Like, crazy defeated enemy bonus of 20% more melee damage, 40% Berserker, extra Soul Bomb with extra Devastation, speedy character with Sprint +2 and Long Stride, so easy FSD and SP directly if you have him 2.5+, gets cooldowns when moving in between the quest areas, also extra 40% Berserker in the base skill set, Frenzy +2, weakened defense, 80% SP boost, with the Godly Kid too, like, he just has a Suction Vortex, but you also have a Godly 960 into Homing Vortex, so this character aged so well. Just the damage output is a bit low. Well, no, it's not low. It's just that he doesn't have Rampage. His damage output is really good, just not cracked like Ishin in this kind of case, but the kid is so much better. What he provides is so much better. You guys get the point. So if you do not have either Yama, Mugetsu, Yuha is going to be a really amazing alternative to use. Bruno, he's going to be quite solid, but very reliant on the gauge. Once you have the gauge active, you should be alright, but without the gauge, he's a mini fraud. I have to keep it real with you. He already has Long Stride built in, so you don't have to worry about that. Frenzy +2 with 40% Berserker. Once you get the gauge active, you get more cooldowns back, you get 50% SP boost, 100% Berserker. Like, he just becomes really good to use as a character. You also get to heal upon activating the gauge, but you guys get the point. Use him as a last resort if you do not have Yuha. I'm gonna keep it real with you, because you do need to get the SP boost out active, and he's very reliant on having the gauge nowadays, but he's still solid. And that's pretty much about it. Last resort would pretty much be ranged hollows, and you can use Nini, but she's very reliant on the gauge. I'm just being 100% realistic with you. VD Riruka, she's good, but I would mainly keep her in slot 3. Quincy Ichigo, same exact thing. Keep him in slot 3. You guys get the point, and those are the only good range characters to use for slot 2. And slot 3, the alternatives, what can we use besides Quincy Ichigo, Macy, and Valentine's Day Riruka? Well, now can be solid. She just doesn't have the SP boost, but her damage output is actually not the worst. And concerning there's Mugetsu that you're going to be running in slot 2, you do get it increased by an extra 10%, so 20% extra strong attack damage from it. And the output is okay, just no 80% SP boost, none of that kind of stuff. That's what you got to take into consideration when using the now. Oh, you don't want to use power characters. Let me just, again, say that right now. Rengiku, you can use her in slot 3. She should actually do better in slot 3 compared to slot 1. And Halibel, even though you're not proccing ailments, you should be okay when it comes to using her. Just very limited, though. Asnot, he does good against the smaller mobs, but against the mobs with poise, his kit is actually really bad. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Bambi, the barrage attack doesn't work. Nini, she's good. She can still work, but very reliant on the gauge. Noel, mini power 1000-year blower Yama, I don't know if I would recommend it if I'm being honest. Rengiku, same case as Halibel. Balgo, I don't know. I don't think so. Hulk, I mean, he can work a bit once you get the SP boost to proc, but like, isn't the craziest. And yeah, there are not that many alternatives that you can use for range characters. I'm gonna keep it a whole level with you. It's actually kind of crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. And if you guys want to know what team I'm gonna be using, yeah, this is the team that I'm gonna be using. Slot 1, 1000-year blower Aizen. Slot 2 is going to be the new Mugetsu, and then slot 3, Quincy Ichigo. But if Quincy Ichigo proves to be a bit underwhelming for what I'm expecting out of him, then guess what? I do not have her max transcended, but like, the better kit that she provides, the damage multipliers that she has, it's just gonna be so much better, just that you don't have the increased element chance. But I feel like she's just gonna be a really solid character to use with the fact that you already have Long Stride built into her, etc, etc, etc. because I don't plan to go super deep for Bambi. I feel like this is going to be the more appropriate team to use. I'm just going to go for like 25 stages plus cleared. I'm not expecting to get the 30 stages cleared, if I'm being 100% honest, but yeah. I hope this video has actually helped you guys out with making the team for Limit Break Request. This is a bit more unfair this time around, a lot more BS, and yeah. If you guys are asking what kind of builds to use, just do the typical strong attack damage item with the pill and the 50% SP item for your SP characters with hybrid links. And if you're bringing Aizen, the best thing that I can really suggest is full stamina damage boost with recharge, just so that way you can get the boost back faster and you can help boost the other characters on the team. So that's all. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have enjoyed it, don't forget to smash that like button, share this video with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and hit the bell notification so that way you guys are up to date with my most recent videos. This has been your boy, the Dash Smasher, and I hope to see you guys all in the next one. So have a wonderful day, lads. Peace out. Bye. Sayonara. Ciao, ciao.